Right, so I've got a couple of events that I've put in to the calendar system that we've got in place at the moment. I'll come back to what we were using because it just seemed to work better and seemed to be more polished. I also have noticed that you can put code above and below this system, but it's uniform for every page, so you still got, unless you want to put stuff above it and below it that needs to be on every page, you can't really do a lot, but this should be sufficient for what you need. So there's a couple of events on here at the moment. There's a sandwich food and wine fair that doesn't have a category, so I'm just going to put that into a category so we can see what's going on and change the date because the date's going to be old now. So let's put that into food fair. It's already got a featured image there, so let's change the date so it's February, just so it shows that we can have multiple things on multiple dates and all that sort of stuff. Cool, so that's going to go from then to then. We've got location, organisers. Organiser name is an organisation I've put into it, it's not just a placeholder. Websites, cost, all that sort of stuff, so let's update that. And then if we go back to here, so this is the main calendar. So when you click calendar, this is what comes up. So you got, that's what I've just put in. You've got two things on this day because I've put another thing in, and then we've got another thing up here, also as a picture. So this, when you click calendar, this shows the calendar for everything. Current month as this screen with everything on it. But what I can do is in the menu system, I haven't done it yet, but you can have the separate categories filtered based on a link that you click on. So at the moment I've got main events over here and I've put those categories into the calendar as these main events because I didn't know what categories you wanted. So at the moment this main events and all this section of the menu doesn't relate to the calendar, but I can make it do that. So let's go back into the back end and event categories so I can show you what I'm talking about. So for example, if I wanted folk and ale as a menu item that only showed up folk and ale listings, I can have it come up in the menu as such. Here, see, so everything else is gone. So there's the full calendar. So click calendar, that's what comes up. Click the new food and wine or food fair, or in this case folk and ale menu item that I'm going to put in here, only comes up with these items. So that's the way that we can get around not being able to have multiple calendars. It makes things a lot easier as well because the menu structure does all the work with regards to showing what needs to be showed and what doesn't need to be showed, as opposed to, say, the user having to go into calendars, pick the calendar, then add the event, but then if it's folk and ale but also a music festival, they've got to go do the posting twice, whereas with this, you can just add a listing, stick it in a category, and as long as it's in that right category, and we click on the right calendar event, it will show up. So let's go back to calendar, and you see everything here. And there we are. So there's a featured image, and then there's all the stuff with regards to where it is. So I just picked that because I think I did that while you were here a couple of times ago. There's your information, but that's all there. And you can export them to Apple Calendar and Google Calendar if you want. So what happens if we do that? That goes presumably to the next event that's in that month, so it can go along like that. Another thing that's quite good is if we go to events and it's organised by the same person or someone that's organised an event in the past, it automatically remembers that information. So you can just pick, or for example like a venue is the same principle, so if it's at there, it automatically knows all that information because I've already put it in once. It doesn't show it all. See, like here, it's got the address and everything that I've already put in once. And you can edit them by clicking venues and add them, but it's obviously a lot quicker just to add them as and when you need to use them, because once you've added them once, they're in there, and it's the same principle as doing it individually anyway here. So let's go into here and just check and see what information is. So, for example, we can change the location of that from there to that if we wanted. And we don't have to enter that information, but if it was to change, then we could just give it different information and it would remember that every time. Likewise with the organiser. Music organiser name, that is just the name that I entered because I couldn't think of a creative one. To be honest with you, I think this is probably going to be your best bet with regards to having a calendar because it seems to do everything that you want. There's the ability to have, as far as the front user is concerned, individual calendars, although it's not worked like that, they're actually filtered out. You can also change this so it appears as a list if you want. But But that happens across the board. There's nothing you can do to have it, say, as a list on one page, but not as a list on another. So let's find how we can do that quickly, and I'll show you what that looks like. So the default view, let's say we change that to list, and we save that. Now when we come back to here, it should by default go into a list view. Yeah, see? So if there's a price, it comes up there. If not, and presumably these are in chronological order, which they are. But now I've saved it like that, every time that I go through a filtered event section, like say like where I was before, where it only showed folk and ale stuff, it would come up as a list as well. You can't have some as one and some as another. You have to have them as all the same thing. But to be honest with you, I probably would prefer, if it were me, the month display anyway, because it just means that if you're looking at the main calendar, you can hover over something and see what it looks like, and if you're on a different calendar, you can still see the events and what date they're on quite easily, but you can get more information just by hovering. With the list, you still have to scroll down. If there's 20 events going on, then it's a lot of scrolling to get to where you need to be, whereas with the calendar month display, you sort of get to see everything at one go. So if I search sandwich, for example, it should only show me sandwich stuff. Now that's because that's the title, obviously. If I wanted, I think there's something music in it, maybe. There we are. So February Music Festival. If I hover over it, it gives me the information. I click into it, and then takes me to a listing for it. Yeah. So let me know what you think. It was just easier to show you like this than it was to just try and explain it. So.